When you run in the magazine known as Weekly Shonen Jump, there is a big chance you are going to get killed in the cradle. This isn't a new phenomenon, but it leaves you to wonder just what does it take for a series to survive in this magazine. Weekly Shonen Jump's tendency to axe anything that comes its way isn't new. It happens every couple of months to multiple series as a bunch of new ones get tossed at the wall until one sticks. We see a lot of strategies implemented as series endure the dreaded reader surveys, a tool that Shonen Jump has to determine series popularity. Every week, people vote on their favorite series of that edition, and that informs the editorial department what is and isn't working. There seems to be two things that work extremely well in this magazine. Number one, managing to strike at an exceptionally rare time where the stars align and you essentially invent a new type of manga, like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen, or number two, Coomer bait. New A's Exorcist is one of the new Shonen Jump hits, and it's just girl after accidental chest touch, all gravitating towards our extremely bland, unfunny, self-insert main character who can't handle interactions with women. It's a hit as well, selling pretty damn well for being a newcomer. Undead Unluck is notorious for its extremely grimy first volume filled with characters being sexually assaulted until one day it decides it has captured the audience and literally never does it again, instead going on to tell a grand tale of killing God. Every series has its method of survival, and Kagurabachi is no exception, though its method is a bit non-traditional and didn't even really involve anything the author did. To understand the rise of Kagurabachi, you have to understand the dreaded leak culture. Leak culture is something designed by dudes crouching down in alleyways, hastily taking pictures of Shonen Jump before its release to sell to people who desperately want clout by running leak accounts. These leak accounts give you, quote, early access, end quote, to chapters, making it so that instead of having to wait 7 days between chapters, you have to wait 7 days between chapters. But now, they are low quality, have poor translations, and are fed to you piecemeal by people with Twitter Blue. Because so many people get the magazine early, placements in the table of contents get released as well, including the ending of ongoing series and the beginning of new ones. That means that before Kagurabachi was even officially announced, people knew about it, and all they had to go off of was that it was a revenge story and that this was the art we had of it. Naturally, people came to a lot of conclusions, judging a book by its cover. Before the series was even officially announced, people jumped onto it like a Morbius meme. If you were born in 2023, the Morbius meme was when the movie allegedly known as Morbius came out, and it was so ass that everyone online pretended it was good, gaslit the studio into putting it back into theaters, and again, did not show up to the new screenings. Kagurabachi was positioned to be a similar occurrence, carried entirely by leak culture because it seemed so bad that people wanted to say it was good. Kagurabachi profile pictures, memes, edits, all over the internet, even dub voice actors getting in on it, and then the first chapter finally dropped. People felt vindicated by the first chapter because, I cannot lie, this chapter felt like it was created in a lab. The protagonist was extremely edgy, talking about waking up every day with fresh hatred, and all it really did was showcase gratuitous gore and flashy action pieces. It genuinely seemed like everything I would have thought is cool when I was 15 in the early 2010s, melted down and distilled into a single manga chapter. Due to its meme status, however, everyone read this thing, and I mean everyone. Manga Plus is an international website by Shueisha that hosts manga series, and it also tracks how many views they are getting. Kagurabachi wasn't in the top 20, not the top 10, not the top 5, but the top 3 most viewed series, taking over titans like Dragon Ball Super, My Hero Academia, and Boruto. Due to its extremely high-ranking, immediate meme culture and manufactured aesthetic, it was immediately accused of the age-old entertainment industry label, Industry Plant. I'll be honest, the first chapter of Kagurabachi wasn't really anything special, but it also wasn't horrible. Newton's third law states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and thus, by the very first chapter, Kagurabachi had haters. There were already fandom wars brewing, and Boruto fans were extremely mad that Kagurabachi overtook it on Manga Plus. Every Sunday, as each chapter would come out, Kagurabachi would maintain this extremely high position, and every Sunday, people came closer to a realization. Wait, is this actually fire? As the series runs its course, it becomes quickly apparent that Chihiro regularly subverts what was laid out for him in the promotional material. What we expected is an extremely stoic, no-nonsense killing machine that doesn't give a damn about anybody else and only cares about its fresh hatred. What we instead get is a stoic, no-nonsense killing machine that is actually multifaceted. The very first way the series softens him up is by introducing a little kid that is put into his protective care, as she has an extremely rare bloodline that criminals in the underworld wish to utilize by literally harvesting her flesh. That's the wrong series, there we go. Char's introduction immediately shows us a different side of Chihiro. He's deeply caring and actively concerned for the well-being of someone who simply can't protect herself, and this doesn't extend to just her, but he's also extremely proactive when it comes to the saving of innocent lives. When Char gets injured, even though he knows that she can regenerate, that doesn't matter. It's something that causes him immediate anguish in the moment, and it's the first and only thing he thinks of while in recovery. This plays into one of Kagurabachi's central ideas, sword making. Okay, that's a little confusing, so let's make it a little more broad. Art. Okay, that might also be confusing, but we'll get to it, alright? Sword making is art, and the series very intentionally goes out of its way to show multiple people's ideas about what sword making truly represents, and how that art form may have impacted them. And it does so massively through the conflict between Chihiro, our protagonist, and the story's first antagonist, Sojo. Their conflict in its entirety summarizes the perception of the beginning of Kagurabachi. The story's main power system follows these enchanted blades that are made by our protagonist's dad, and Chihiro sees them as something sacred, and he is especially very tied to the idea of them being his father's creation. And there are a couple of things that come with that. First, he holds them in very high regard because they are his father's legacy. Second, he also believes that makes him and his father a bastion of purity when it comes to wielding the sword, since they are the lineage that created them. They have the final say in what they represent. Thinking back on the life he had with his father before he was killed, Chihiro channels the version of his father he wished to see, that these weapons exist to defeat evil and protect the weak alone. Sojo believed that he truly understood what Chihiro's father was about when making these blades. When offered his idea, Sojo would spit in the face of his interpretation and say he himself is the only one who got it. While Chihiro fought to protect people who couldn't protect themselves, Sojo used the blades to kill as efficiently as possible. To him, that was the only reason why someone would make these weapons, or as he puts it, unbeatable killing machines. Two titans of power colliding to decide who is correct, and let's just ask that. Which one of them is correct? When Chihiro was a kid, his dad told him something important. Be your own person. He would call his son serious, like his mom, but unlike his goofy side. Chihiro is like a logical existence in a sense. Find your own shape to make with your hands. That was one of the final things his dad would tell him. And ironically, shortly after, we learned that the powers of the sword can shift depending on the wielder, supporting the concept of individual interpretations. In their final battle, Chihiro tells Sojo that he himself of all people should understand what the sword is truly about, because he obviously saw his father every day, and Sojo is initially curious about what he was like in his day-to-day life, but then immediately decides to ignore his father entirely. Death of the Author is a literary concept and also an essay written by a French author in 1967, Roland Barthes. I know, I just brought up real-life theory, but stick with me for a second, right? The very first thing we get from the essay is Barthes asking a particular question. Who is the voice of the text? Is it the protagonist? Is it another character's point of view? Is it the author themselves? Is it universal wisdom or romantic psychology? He speaks of the text as a composite in which every subject escapes, and a trap where all identity is lost, beginning with the very identity of the body that writes. Because the origin of the text is not the author, but there is no other origin than language. Once text hits a page or art hits a canvas, it becomes disconnected from the scripter or the author. The point of this essay isn't to say, screw the author. It's to say that the meaning of the text comes from the language used, and ultimately, when art is put out into the world, it escapes the author's identity and is instead embraced by the world at large. Every human being has different circumstances, history, life experiences, familial relationships, social circumstances, and so much more. And all of that is going to go into how they perceive art. Do you see where I'm going with this? Kagurabachi's first major conflict is quite literally Chihiro having to accept death of the author. While he may have internalized his dad talking about using the blade to save the weak, he also remembers when he says that at the end of the day, these are tools for killing, and as he recalls this, we cut to someone facing severe injury from these blades who believes that they shouldn't be allowed to exist. The fight is surrounded at large by a metaphorical dinner that Sojo and Chihiro are having. At first, he's completely rejecting the food, and when Sojo's perspective enters his mind and when the words his dad said all those years ago come up, he finally partakes in the meal. He is quite literally eating Sojo's words. As he eats, he gets it. His interpretation isn't final, nor is his own father's, the creator of these blades. People will grow to have their own relationship and understanding of his dad's art. What Chihiro will do is his best to show why his interpretation is the correct one. Do you know how easy and safe it would have been for Kagurabachi to take this fight in a direction where Chihiro goes, "No, you're wrong," then he chops him in half or something? But it didn't do that. What causes him to win is his accepting that these are tools to kill, and attempting to back his own interpretation up, to kill Sojo to protect those who can't protect themselves. Ultimately, in art, any interpretation is valid as long as you have the means to back it up, and that will be Chihiro's task over the course of Kagurabachi. Through the series' marketing and our initial impressions of Chihiro, we were given a surface-level interpretation of this edgy boy. But as time passed, Kagurabachi showed us that it isn't as simple, and at the same time, it taught Chihiro that. Art is a vast, wonderful human experience, and Kagurabachi aims to demonstrate that. To one, this series can be this overly edgy meme series, and to others, it could be a really interesting story about human experience. Even though the meme title wave has come and gone, it's still doing pretty damn well for only having one volume released. If you are watching this and haven't given it a shot, I implore you to check out Kagurabachi and make sure it stays alive in this harsh weekly Shonen Jump atmosphere where things are always getting cut short. Let it tell the story it's trying to tell, and maybe we'll get even more cool arcs like this one. And that is the story of the manga that simply started as a meme. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm. You can also become a YouTube member, which gives you access to behind-the-scenes content, a badge on comments and livestream chats, as well as the use of emotes and videos before their actual release. You can also check the description for socials like Twitter, where I'm objectively correct all the time, and Discord, where we talk about ReZero, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, and stuff like that. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.